All right, let's just jump right in. We all know what an operating system is, right? It's the thing in the background that manages our files, runs our apps, and basically keeps our devices from falling apart. But today, we are talking about something on a totally different plane of existence. This is an explainer on a pretty radical concept, an operating system built not just on code, but on philosophy, an OS that literally has a conscience.
So, let's start with the one question that this entire project is built around. Just think about this for a second. What if your computer's OS, the most fundamental software on it, could actually understand a concept as deep and as human as dignity? What if it could make choices not just based on can it run, but on is this ethical? I mean, it's a wild, wild idea, and that's exactly what this system is trying to do.
And this right here, this comparison just lays it all out perfectly. Your standard OS, your Windows, your Mac OS, it asks a really simple question. Can I run this? It's all about resources, compatibility, is it possible? But this ontological OS, it asks a much, much bigger question. Should I run this? You see the difference? It's not managing files anymore. It's trying to manage ethics. And that is a whole other universe.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, how on earth do you even begin to code a conscience? And yeah, that's the right question. But this isn't just a thought experiment. We're going to look at how they're actually attempting to translate these super deep, abstract philosophical ideas into functional, working code.
And this is where it starts to get properly mind-bending. The system literally tries to formalize concepts from existentialist philosophy. I mean, we're talking about taking an idea like Dasein, which is Heidegger's term for being in the world, or even something as fuzzy as angst, and turning them into computable variables. Things a machine can process. It's like Heidegger meets the motherboard. It's just wild.
All right, so you've turned philosophy into variables. Now what? You can't just have them sitting there. You need a process, a pipeline, to actually use them to make decisions. So next up, let's break down how this OS actually plans to turn these abstract ideas into concrete ethical choices.
Look, the full technical process it's a lot. It's got like 11 steps, but we can boil it all down to these 4 key stages. First, it just ingests. It gobbles up a ton of data from everywhere. Neurosensors, APIs, human input, you name it. Then, and this is the crucial part, it encodes that raw data, mapping it to its philosophical concepts, tagging it with ideas like consent. Step 3 is where the real secret sauce is. It fuses all that info, even if it contradicts itself. And finally, the engine makes a decision based on that new, ethically informed state. So, how does it handle that conflicting data? A normal computer, if you tell it this is true and this is false at the same time, it just breaks. It crashes. But this system uses something called para-consistent logic. This is the absolute core of its intelligence. It gives the OS the ability to hold two opposite ideas in its mind at the same time and to evaluate them without shutting down. Kind of like we humans do every single day. And this brings us to what I think is the centerpiece of this entire system. Because, look, if you're going to make judgments about ethics, you kind of need a way to measure them, right? So this section is all about how this OS tries to create a tangible number for a deeply, deeply intangible idea. It tries to make ethics measurable. And here it is. They call it the dignity score. It's a single number, a metric that updates in real time, always between 0 and 1, and its whole job is to try and quantify the ethical weight of any decision. The closer that number gets to 1, the more ethically messy or complicated or uncertain a situation is. It's like the system's core ethical barometer. But what actually goes into that score? It's not just a random number, of course. It's actually made up of 3 key things. First is uncertainty. Basically, how much does the AI not know? How foggy is the picture? Second is consistency. How much does the data contradict itself? And third is complexity. In simple terms, just how tangled and messy is the problem that it's looking at. So here's the most important part. What happens when that score gets too high? Well, the system has a line in the sand, a threshold. Let's say it's 0.8. If a potential decision creates a dignity score that goes over that line, bam, it triggers what's called a dignity flag. This is the system's main safety valve. It's the OS basically putting its hand up and saying, whoa, this is too thorny for me. A human needs to look at this now.
And that human needs to look at this part, that leads us straight into our final and maybe most important section, the absolute necessity of keeping humans in the loop. See, this was never about creating some autonomous robot judge. It's about building an unbelievably powerful advisory tool with really strong guardrails that make sure people, humans, are always in control.
So when that dignity flag goes up, a human overseer steps in, and they have a very clear job. They supervise the decision, They have total power to veto or change whatever the AI wants to do, and, this is the really brilliant part, they have to explain why they overrode it. They provide the reasoning, which in turn teaches the system and helps it get smarter. The human is the final call, the actual conscience in this whole partnership.
And the governance here goes even deeper than just one person. There's something called a NeuroDAO, which is basically a decentralized council of experts, ethicists, lawyers, tech folks, and they all vote on the system's main rules, like where to set that dignity score threshold. And every single thing, every decision, every vote, every override is recorded forever on the NeuroLedger, an unchangeable blockchain log. It creates total transparency and accountability.
And just as a quick note, we have to remember the tech this is all built on. It's designed for some seriously next-level hardware, like quantum computers and direct neural interfaces. But maybe most importantly, it's also being built from the ground up to comply with today's big regulations, like GDPR and the EU's AI Act. It grounds this super futuristic vision in some very real-world rules.
So, we end up right back where we started, with a really massive question. The goal here, it seems, isn't just to build a smarter machine. It's to use these machines to help us figure out what smarter, or even better, actually means. It's this incredible fusion of ancient philosophy and cutting-edge tech. And it just leaves us with this one final provocative thought. If our technology starts to develop a conscience, how is that going to change our own?